Hey everyone, welcome to episode 6 of Talk Nerdy with Me podcast. We are your hosts. I'm Brittany.
I'm Adam.
And we're actually discussing something different today. I mean, obviously, because WandaVision's over. Definitely expect something on Falcon and the Winter Soldier in the future, just like not every episode. But today, what are we talking about?
We are here to talk about the Snyder Cut.
Woo!
I know, it's finally here.
I know.
We're all excited.
So
I've watched it twice. Wait, 3 times now?
Yeah, you've watched it 3 times.
It's really hard to say that when you look at how long the movie is.
Yeah, that means 12 hours of your life.
All right, we're not going to talk about that
That's half a day.
We're not going to talk about that.
And I have watched it 1 time, solidly.
And she struggled to get through it.
Yeah, I mean, Snyder Cut was not made for people with any kind of attention disorder. Like, because the problem is I already know how it's going to end. You're giving me kind of a very similar story, but you're making it a lot longer. And I can appreciate it. But wow, it was a struggle. It was a struggle to get through it. It was like reading a chapter book in school that I didn't want to read, but I knew it would be worth it.
Yeah. I think it was weird because as long as it was, I felt like it went by quicker than I thought it would.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it still dragged on in some scenes that just didn't need to keep going. You know what I mean? So it was like they really just took everything they had for the movie and threw it in. They said, why not? But they were, it didn't. I mean,
there should have been a why.
There was a really solid 3-hour movie in there. You know what I mean?
Oh,
the
totally.
4 hours was just kind of extra.
Like, take out all of the slow-mo, basically. 3 hours.
Yeah. Well, should we just dive into it?
Yeah, I mean, we're just gonna basically kind of give our thoughts on it. There's no rhyme or reason to this one, so we might be jumping around, really, because I just want to talk about it. Obviously, he's a hardcore DC fan. Let's actually start from the basis of, like, how we felt overall about the movie.
Yeah.
Because, rating-wise, out of 10, what did you say you ended up giving it?
So I gave it a 7.5, and I do that in the best way possible. It's not like it's not amazing, but 7.5 I feel like is a really solid movie, and I feel like that's a 10-time upgrade from what I thought about the original Justice League. So
yeah. Because what would you have rated the original?
I'd say like a 5, honestly.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. See, for me, I would rate the Snyder Cut, I told you 6, because I think it's above average. But I don't think it's anything special, I guess, in a lot of ways. But when I first watched the original cut, I didn't have that many complaints. Like, yeah, I was kind of lost through it, but I didn't realize I was lost, I guess, the first time I watched it. So when I saw it, I was like, yeah, that was like a 6.5.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I don't even think I watched it all the way. I didn't see it in theaters, but with the first movie, I think I had to keep trying to finish it.
Oh, kind of like how I did with this one.
Exactly, yeah. So it was definitely more of a struggle, but...
I saw it in theaters.
Did you?
Yeah.
Well, there you go. Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, just to break this one down, I enjoyed it. It wasn't perfect, but it was entertaining, and it gave you, especially, diehard DC or just comic book lovers in general, it really just gave you everything you wanted. And I think a big thing was that it really dove more into the backstory of a lot of the characters.
Right.
And it just made them feel relevant.
Yeah.
Because and this part kind of sucks, but I went back to watch the original just to be able to compare the two freshly. And you look and you compare some of the characters, their roles, and just their build-up. Yeah. And you wonder why they're even on screen in the original, just because of the lack of just like definition of their just no development. Yeah. And
there was no you didn't know who they
were just there. There was no reason for a lot of what the characters were doing, and that's both good and bad.
Well, and the fact is, like,
good and bad characters.
Like I told you, the thing is I feel like it's not even fair for me to rate this in any way, because it was slow, but it's because they were fitting in 5 movies into one, because realistically what they probably should have done before ever making this movie was giving us the Aquaman movie before it. I know we have it now, but before it, probably a Flash movie, probably a Cyborg movie. We had the Wonder Woman, so thank goodness. And then maybe even a prequel to this one, if you want to give us even more detail to the villain and everything that's going on. I honestly don't think that they had the not even the budget, because obviously you said it's one of the most expensive movies.
It was, yeah.
So, but I just think that they knew that there isn't as much hype surrounding currently the Justice League as there was with the Avengers at the time. Yeah. So they didn't want to have to wait 5 years and then have people
not be into it. They really just accelerated the process.
Yeah.
Just because they saw, I'm going to assume it's because of all the money that Avengers was making. Yeah. And it really sucks too, because I feel like DC this time around got caught on the short end of the stick, because obviously the Dark Knight series with Christian Bale and the
so
Heath
good.
Ledger Joker was just amazing.
Yeah,
but,
iconic.
Yeah, we really thought that with Man of Steel they would eventually connect, because Christopher Nolan directed both of them.
But now it's looking more like Suicide Squad is going to end up connecting with this storyline.
Well, yeah, but that's a little bit different.
Right, no, but I mean in general, just like for Joker-wise.
Oh, well, yeah, well, that's the problem. We have like 4 different Jokers now.
Yeah.
But with that original Dark Knight series, we would have liked that to transition directly into Man of Steel and then into a Justice League later on with Christian Bale's Batman. And I think he just didn't want to play it, so they ended up having to not
Christian Bale
retcon
is
that,
such
but
a
it's just
good-
not actually part of the universe,
Yeah.
which is why we get this new, Batfleck.
Almost like a different like multiverse. You
Exactly,
know?
in a
Like,
way.
that's like its own situation.
Exactly. So, and they just, with the original, and I feel the same way about Batman and Superman, they really just sped up everything a little bit faster than they needed to. And a lot of the characters, their development just suffered.
Man of Steel was not sped up. That one was...
Yeah, well, Man of Steel was
But
fine,
I liked
honestly.
it. I liked
Yeah,
Man of
I
Steel.
enjoyed Man of Steel. That
I
was
like-
probably one of the better
I like the
DC
backstory
movies.
that we got. Like, so much backstory on Superman. I think that for me, I told you this when I first saw Batman versus Superman, I really despised the editing. Like, more than anything. I didn't mind the storyline. I didn't mind the characters and the people who played them. But, like, it was so choppy. It felt like whiplash. Like, you were in 3 different character storylines, and none of them were combining until the very end, you know?
The first 10 minutes, I think, looked like it was done in a film class.
It was like 45 minutes of that. It was crazy. It was like more than half of the movie.
Yeah.
And I mean, that was just like left a bad taste in my mouth. So I at least appreciate they didn't use as many jump cuts, for this one.
Yeah, but I definitely want to go into like more of the positives about the Snyder Cut, just because if you could, I can go all day about everything that was wrong with the original.
Yeah.
But what I'll do is just kind of like place them side by side and really highlight what Zack Snyder did better in his version that really, made it appeal to the fans and
Right.
makes us want to move forward with this story, which is up in the air right now, which is ridiculous, but they don't know which director they're going to go with for future movies, but we'll figure that out later.
I mean, I think just alone the fact that people were begging so much for the Snyder Cut that HBO came out with it and people are still watching a 4-hour long movie that's in 6 parts, that should tell them enough about what director they should go with.
Exactly. So, but we'll see. That's their decision. We're going to watch it well, I'm going to watch it anyway, so.
I mean,
But-
I love watching movies, but like to be fair, it definitely took a hit because it wasn't in theaters. Like, I love the theater
See, I don't
experience.
care.
I've always liked the theater experience. You know that. Like,
See, and it's funny because there's a side note on that. Back to Marvel, of course. Black Widow is going to be released in theaters and on Disney Plus at the same time. And when I saw that notification, I'm like, why on earth would I go watch it in theaters when I can do it from home?
Oh, I need
But
to call my dad.
There you go. I guess you're the other side who's going straight to the theaters to watch it.
well,
so.
me and my dad, that's just what we do. We
Yeah.
always go to movies together. So like the movie theater being shut down has been like, oof.
Yeah. See, if I can just not leave my room, then that's optimal.
I
but
mean, obviously for me too, but I feel like there's something different about superhero movies in
it's
the
an experience
theater.
for sure, the surround sound and everything.
Yeah.
But okay, so back to the Snyder Cut. First thing I really want to highlight, I mentioned character development, but I feel like it really is most like
Prevalent.
obvious or prevalent with Steppenwolf and Cyborg.
Right.
And I'm going to start with Steppenwolf just because in the original, you don't understand why he's the villain. Like, I tried to look back at it and kind of understand, and the way they built his character, he was the dark side of that movie, which doesn't make sense because no one cares about Steppenwolf. As a DC fan, I barely knew who he was.
I remember when the trailer came out, like for the original movie, and I was like, who the heck is Steppenwolf?
Yeah,
And
and
you
so-
were like, let me explain.
Yeah, and so a little backstory on Steppenwolf is he's actually Darkseid's uncle in the comics, and he's nowhere close to as powerful. They kind of used him as like Darkseid's herald in this, like he's doing the dirty work for him. But in the original, there was, I think, one mention of Darkseid, and Steppenwolf just does everything that Darkseid was supposed to do.
I
And
think
it's for the Justice League to get together and defeat a non-household name villain like him just seemed like a waste of time.
I think that in the original, I mean, I don't even know if Darkseid was mentioned.
He
in
was
all
mentioned.
Well, I mean, apparently, like not even.
He
like-
wasn't shown or anything, and that's why it was
Right.
odd.
But like, I think in the original, what it was that Steppenwolf had heard the call from the mother boxes,
Yeah, he did.
and just came to the. And I didn't question that. If I'm gonna
Yeah.
be honest, like I like as a non DC
Yeah.
like fan, I just kind of was like, oh yeah, that I guess that makes sense.
Like, yeah, I guess we're fighting Steppenwolf.
Yeah, sure. I'm like, okay, yeah, I guess an alien would come to alien boxes that are calling to him.
Right.
Why not?
Yeah. But what the Snyder Cut did really well is that it showed that Steppenwolf is actually banished from Apocalypse. So
It
he
gave
is,
him a good backstory.
Yeah, so he is Darkseid's uncle, and they briefly mentioned the reasoning. They said he did some type of betrayal. I'm not really sure what exactly the betrayal was. It might have been like, oh, maybe I can be powerful kind of like slighting Darkseid in some way.
I almost wish that they had given us like the reason.
Yeah.
Like, if I don't know, I guess it would have been difficult to give us an exact reason.
Yeah.
But I think that would have at least solidified the reasoning.
Yeah.
You know, like, why else would you be banished and be forced to do all this? Like,
Yeah.
you would have to assume it would be like a takeover. Like,
Yeah.
did he try to take over Darkseid and realize he's
Yeah.
nowhere near there?
Exactly. So Steppenwolf's motivation this entire time is he's collecting these mother boxes to, take control of Earth. Eventually he learns to find out that the anti-life equation is on Earth, but he's doing this because to get back into Apocalypse, which is their home planet, he pretty much has to conquer like 500,000 worlds or something like that as like a punishment for trying to do whatever he did to Darkseid. I'm guessing some type of betrayal.
And it seems like he's already conquered quite a few worlds before
Yeah.
he finally gets to Earth, because I think there's a line at one point where Aquaman mentions that, like right before their big bad battle, where he's literally like, well, he's done this to thousands of other planets
Right.
already. Why do we think we're going to be defeated, or we're going to
Exactly.
defeat them?
Yeah, but it's cool because you really see that he just wants to go home, and obviously he's a villain, like we don't care. But I feel like what makes good villains is understanding their perspective.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And putting in their shoes, this man was banished from his world. They were royalty there, and now he has to do this bidding, to get back to where he's from. And so
Totally.
I feel like just that human aspect of it makes you be like, oh, Darkseid's got a reason for this. You know what I mean? And that is like 10 times more than what they showed in the last one. He just showed up. He's like, I want the
Yeah.
mother boxes, collected them all in 5 minutes. Max 10 minutes is how long that took for him.
Yeah.
And then they're just fighting him. So, and then from there, you actually see a lot of Darkseid, which is super cool. They showed Darkseid when he first came to Earth, and he got overthrown.
I loved that.
It was a great scene.
No, that was a really cool scene. I think that flashback scene really it just grounded like the mythology for the DC universe. You know what I mean? Because like we have barely a basis, even in Marvel sometimes. You know what I mean? So like it was cool to see in DC that there are the old gods, like with
Yeah.
the Greek gods that
Yeah.
like are eventually obviously going to be like Wonder Woman's dad and stuff. And then you see like the Atlantis people, and then you see the humans, and they're all like teaming together. It gave me Lord of the Rings vibes.
Oh yeah, definitely.
You know what I mean?
No, I see it. Honestly, a lot of the characters even kind of look like it in
Oh
some
yeah,
of the
well,
scenes.
especially like how they all have to like band together in Lord of the Rings to defeat Mordor. Like it just felt very much like that
Yeah.
in that one scene.
Yeah.
But I liked it.
Yeah, but this scene was awesome because it was just a little bit longer in the Snyder version, but it was Darkseid doing the battle. It was Darkseid and his entire army against, like she said, Atlanteans, what is Wonder Woman again?
Amazons.
The Amazons. There was a Green Lantern in there, and then you have Zeus and
Right.
Hades.
I really wish that's one of my only complaints. You had
Green Lanterns.
You had 4 hours. Tell me who the hell the Green Lantern is.
Yeah.
And I know as a DC fan, what
Yeah.
but like at the end of the day, it's just
that
an
one
alien dude.
specifically?
Or just
That
like,
was a random
I
one,
mean, in general, like just like introduce the fact that there's a Green Lantern. Don't just have like a Green Lantern that has powers and fly through and assume that everyone's gonna know what's going on. Because I mean, I understand the assumption.
Yeah.
I totally get it. But also, Ryan Reynolds is the Green Lantern I know. So like, what do I make?
Yeah,
what
no,
do I do with that?
He was joking that he would have been down for a cameo, but
Yeah.
they apparently said that they were actually trying to get a Jon Stewart character as the Green Lantern, and he's like my favorite one, so I was pretty bummed that they didn't end up doing it, but
Yeah.
that is what it is. But no, I thought it was super cool because looking back at that first battle they had, Zeus and Ares just beat the shit out of Darkseid. That was awesome.
Yeah, you mentioned that because I was saying how like I didn't understand how. Okay, I mean obviously I'm coming from the idea that like Greek gods are supposed to be the most powerful beings. Like they are the entity of their powers. You know what I mean? Like you don't kill them, you don't defeat them. You're just puny.
Yeah.
And so like to see them go up against Darkseid and need like all of these armies also on their side, it's just like kind of a thing that is hard for me to match up in my head.
Yeah,
Like
I mean-
I get it because Darkseid's supposed to be like incredibly powerful. But I don't know.
Yeah, but when you look at the battle, it's not like there were thousands of arrows being shot at Darkseid where they were attacking him. It was an army against an army, and then your big guns against each other.
See, to be fair, I think I was really tired when we watched
Okay,
this scene.
I was gonna say.
Because in my head, everyone was like colliding towards them.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, in my head, this one part, like everyone was already fighting them and they were involved.
Yeah, pretty much
So-
how it went is Zeus shot a couple lightning bolts at him, and then Ares just comes and just axes this man right in the collarbone. I
remember that, and they have to drag him away.
Exactly. So that was pretty much. It really didn't take as long as you thought it would, but
Well, no, and in general, like at first, like, you would think that that's kind of a cop-out for them to make it so fast, but then in the end, when they're explaining how once some other boxes are synchronized, you only have, like, a couple of minutes before the world is destroyed.
They didn't have much time.
So, like, that's how long that battle has to be. Like, and the amount of destruction that even was caused just by that is kind of fun to think about.
Yeah. So, but like the biggest thing, like I mentioned, that whole scene is Steppenwolf in the original, which just makes even less sense because it's like Darkseid never did any of the work, which is not unrealistic, but it's hard to display that guy as being your main villain. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
So it's just like,
I mean, it's just no one knows him.
Yeah.
Like, not really, not to the point of Darkseid.
Yeah, and it's not like with Thanos where you kind of keep seeing, bits of him
of
over,
him being the commander and
over like 10 years. This was like a one shot, hey, this is our guy, but this is the main guy. It's like, but this is the main movie. Where's he coming in, See,
that's what I'm saying.
So,
I feel like they just really rushed the process.
Exactly.
Like, they could have had something so good if they'd been willing to slow it down, but it would have been hard to.
Yeah. But like I said, so Steppenwolf, his character made a lot more sense in this. And the biggest issue I had watching the original is that the parademons were the ones that ended up killing Steppenwolf. Do you remember that?
No.
So the last fight scene, like I thought I had to rewind this because I was like, is this really how it ended? In the Snyder cut, obviously Superman comes, we have a whole Flashpoint scene where he's got to go back in time to reverse, the mother box situation, and they, what's his name? Aquaman, he spears him, Superman comes, punches him, and then Wonder Woman decapitates him, and then he flies in and his head lands right in Darkseid's throne room, which was awesome. That is almost like what you can imagine straight out of a comic book, you know what I mean? Like,
the final battle scene, I think, is one of the things that the Snyder cut did so well.
Yeah.
Like, really. Like, sometimes it felt a little bit lengthened, but I think it was overall done really well.
Exactly. But so I went back and I watched the original just so we could talk about it and compare the two. And when Superman shows up, they just have a big fight amongst them. And I can't remember exactly what happens, but there's some point...
mind control?
No, there's some point where, like, I think it was Superman just beats the shit out of Steppenwolf so badly that the fear starts coming within him, and the parademons attack based on fear. So the parademons literally swarm Steppenwolf, and he's like, no, stop, don't you dare. And then he gets boomed to back to Darkseid. And I'm just like, that's the ending? We brought Superman back from the dead just for the parademons to attack their own master? Like, it didn't make any sense. I literally had to rewind to double check because I thought, like,
yeah.
I'm like, is this a deleted scene or something?
To be fair, like, in the original version, I remember thinking that, like, the only person that really did much of anything was Superman and Batman, to be fair. But, like, you had Cyborg there, you had Flash there, you had Wonder Woman there, and Cyborg. Did I already say Cyborg?
Yeah.
Either way, you had them all there, and it felt like they hadn't done anything in the original version. And in Snyder Cut, they all had very distinct roles. I mean, okay, to be fair, I was actually kind of confused. Like, that scene I actually watched twice of them explaining what all their roles are, and I'm like, I still don't understand what any of your roles are. But once they do them, it makes sense. But like when they're explaining it, I'm like, you didn't say anything.
Yeah.
You said he's gonna run. You said he's gonna do something.
They explained it, but you kind of had to follow along the whole time to really understand it because it was kind of like a callback to earlier. But this is like the end scene. We're just going to run through it real quick. So this pissed me off. He just axes Cyborg, just rips his leg off. I was like, come on. Picks him up, just like rips him in half.
Cyborg, just like, they didn't do a very good job in showing his strength in the original.
I'm going straight into Cyborg after this, but I'm going to speed this up a bit.
Oh yeah, Superman's still in his normal outfit.
Yeah.
I like the black
but
outfit.
just pay attention to his face, because if you didn't know, in the original movie, once the movie was done, they had to do a bunch of reshoots because obviously they changed directors, and Henry Cavill did not want to shave his mustache. So there's a bunch of scenes that are a close up on his face, and it looks ridiculous because they had to CGI the mustache off of him. So
it just skipped.
Oh, that wasn't the end. That's why. Oh, this is it.
Steppenwolf looks weird in this version.
Yeah, he looks a lot more like just human.
Yeah. I wouldn't say human. I will say, I mean, I have mixed feelings. Like, because right here, Steppenwolf's face in CGI looks better in the Snyder Cut, in my opinion. But I think that, like, the weird, like, dark blue filter that's on the Snyder Cut for the entire movie is a little bit annoying at times. I know, I'm seeing.
It's just so ridiculous. And then in the original, like I said, the parademons are the ones who attack Steppenwolf, essentially defeat him, and then he has to boom tube back, getting his body just mauled by them, boom tube back over to... So I don't even know where he went if he's not allowed at Apocalypse. But yeah, in that version, it doesn't even look like he's dead. But...
in this version, I don't think he never said that he wasn't going back, or he wasn't allowed back to Apocalypse.
He's banished. He's exiled.
He said that? Even in this version?
Oh, sorry, in this version, I'm not sure.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think he did say that in this version.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that like rewatching that, I was just like dumbfounded. I'm like, there's no way someone filmed this and approved it. They're like, you know what? The guy we needed the entire Justice League to beat, he's gonna be beaten by his own soldiers.
Yeah, that was really dumb.
Yeah, but again, I thought it was way better in the Snyder cut. I thought his character made a lot of sense. I still don't love his CGI. I thought it was cool.
I think the CGI is something that in general DC needs to work on.
Well, overall, yes.
Like as a concept.
Yeah,
they need to work on it because they can do better.
Yeah, I had mixed feelings on his armor. I didn't really like it either way.
Oh, I kind of liked it, but it made me want to pet it. You know, like those pillows that are sparkly that you pet one way and it goes like a different color? That's what his armor really reminded me of, but like a dangerous version.
It looked like a sentinel to me.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Because of the weird scales that kept like flashing.
Yeah, I couldn't really get that out of my head, but that's pretty much all I have on Steppenwolf. But going into Cyborg, this was just unreal how much is different about Cyborg in the Snyder cut versus the original.
I still think that he could have gotten more.
Yeah, no, I agree.
We could have gotten a lot more. The one thing that I mentioned to Adam was that I feel like for such a long movie, even though we got a lot more details in this, there was not that much script for the amount of movie. It's a very visual movie versus like script driven movie, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah, but with Cyborg, like, I'm not even joking. He had like a 90% increase in role and backstory. Just, he was almost the main character. Like, obviously it's a Justice League and, you know, Batman and Superman are going to be the focal points, but like none of this story would have been possible if you didn't have Cyborg being built up. And
I think that he was the one that we saw like an emotional journey.
Yeah.
Because like in the very beginning of the movie, he's obviously like coming to terms with the fact that he is a cyborg now. And like he's having like his whole battle with his father. Like even the way that his dad is narrating basically the epilogue of the story, he is, in my opinion, like the focal point. Because even though Batman and Superman are kind of like doing their own thing, like they weren't the focus.
Exactly. And I think the coolest thing, like, again, the character development, like you see the emotional kind of journey he's going on the entire time, but they made him so OP that I loved it because they explained pretty much, they were like, I know his dad explained, he's like, now that you're part of the mother box, he's like, you're a walking supercomputer. He's like, you can hack into anything. You have all the access to nuclear codes.
Like, it's going to be your decision now not to kill everyone.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Literally.
He's like, you have all the power with all the technology, and it's not even just because you are a robot, but it's because he's got the power of the mother box.
Well, I mean, I even loved the part where he was saying, he's like, you can launch every single person's nuclear, like, missiles. You can launch everything in the world. Like, you can drain every bank. Like, you are going to have to make the decision not to at this point. And I was just like, that's very Ultron, Ultron. Like,
so, but I think it was cool because I feel like a lot of people's like image of Cyborg is going to be based off Teen Titans, where he's just half man, half robot. Booyah! We didn't get a booyah. That is my main complaint about the Snyder cut.
He didn't seem like the booyah kind of Cyborg. He's depressed.
We definitely needed a booyah though. That was probably my main complaint about the Snyder cut. But aside from that, like again, our normal vision of Cyborg is just like the half man, half robot, and just got like arm cannons
and super funny.
And
like,
super
that's what
funny.
We're thinking.
Yeah, exactly. But this version again, crazy OP. He was, you know, on the technical side, this man can hack into anything. He's got brains.
Well, I mean, even seeing just like his backstory of him basically being on death's bed, like he has no lower body. He's missing an arm. Like to see that moment, like from his dad's perspective, because he'd already lost his wife. He's like, I'm not losing my son too. And just to watch like the pain of the what the frick is it called? Mother box. Okay.
I'm like, I'm talking about his mother or the box.
But the mother box like zapping him into the cyborg, because it's just like, I don't know, you never think of it that way. You always think that he's like put to sleep in a very like practical manner, and instead it's not that.
Yeah, he was an awesome character. I'm really glad that they did him justice, honestly, in this one, because there, if you didn't know, there is a big issue. It's like a lawsuit going on right now between Ray Fisher, who's the actor, and Joss Whedon, who's the director of the original Justice League. And I'm pretty sure it was like essentially based off all his lines being cut. Like they took about 90% of it out.
Damn.
I don't know exactly those specifics. I know it's not a great situation. But
I haven't rewatched the original movie, so it's hard for me to even like know. But yeah, I mean, just from like the amount that we did get of Cyborg versus in the original, it is kind of startling. Yeah. Like you're gonna tell me that all the things that got cut out were Cyborg related.
Yeah, basically. And a lot of it was important information. That was like, you know, that was the biggest part about it. It's like, it's not that, you know, Cyborg has to be the main character. It's that Cyborg's story is what makes this makes sense. You know
well, I
what
mean,
I
like,
mean?
otherwise, how's he supposed to, like, zap into the mother boxes?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, we needed that bit of backstory just to give a good idea of how difficult it would be, but also why he's the only being that would be able to do it, you know?
They dumbed everything down. But again, Ray Fisher was awesome. I love Cyborg. I really hope they can work things out. And he can be, continuing with the Justice League whenever they decide to make a sequel.
I think it's just going to be interesting to see, like, because I know that there's still, I mean, I don't know why, but I still think that it's just an interesting battle to see which director is going to end up on top, you know?
Yeah, no, it's a really odd situation because it's honestly, it's a mess because as much as I love Justice League and, DC and everything, like, there's no continuity with any of their stuff.
No.
Like, the biggest question we have with Marvel is if Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is canon or not. That is the only question we have. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Daredevil, that is the only question we have for them. But in Justice League, we have 2 versions of the Justice League movie, the Snyder Cut and the original.
Wow, yeah.
We have...
Could you imagine 2 versions of Endgame?
Well...
Like, could you imagine 2 directors
exactly.
did 2 different versions of Endgame?
But listen to this. So we have 2 versions of Justice League, Snyder Cut and the regular version. We have a new Batman coming out with Robert Pattinson.
Right.
That's not canon, keep in mind.
Yeah, where does that fit?
We have the solo Joker movie, which was incredible. I really loved every second of it. I thought it was deep. It was dark.
I forgot about that.
I know, exactly. Not canon. That has nothing to do with any of it. And because it did so well, they want to see if they can make more lifelike-ish kind of villain movies like that. You know what I mean?
I just think they did a good job because, I mean, first of all, there's no CGI.
Yeah.
But second of all, with the script, like, I really think that one of their weakest points is their scripts.
It's a very bad script,
because,
always.
like, I mean, I appreciate a grim visual world. But, I mean, first of all, you're kind of messing up the CGI. And second of all, you need script to carry you over because otherwise you're not attached to the characters.
Exactly.
Like, for me personally, even though we learned a lot more about the characters in this movie than we did in the original version, I still felt barely any attachment to them. Like, I mean, Aquaman would have died and I'd been like, yeah, I barely knew him though, so who cares?
Yeah. I think this time around, I really felt like I connected with Cyborg like 100% more.
A lot more.
I think Flash made more sense than he did in the last one.
Yeah.
But I still feel like even then, like it was funny because you still feel like everybody was underutilized for how long it was. Like Aquaman, like you said, I barely got anything new out of him.
This is what I'm saying. I think it's just because they didn't talk. Like, you can't get a personality out of one-liners, you know? Like, you just can't. Like, you need like family and you need friends and you need backstory and you need their normal narratives.
Yeah.
Which is hard to do in a movie that you're already trying to, like, do so much else in.
Yeah.
But yeah, they need to work on that. That's why, like, everyone connected so much to the Joker movie. Like, we're getting so much backstory, we're getting so much personality, like, locked into there. And it doesn't have to be anything special. It just literally has to show you, like, this is a story.
Yeah. And I always say with, like, DC stuff, it's always kind of difficult because they have a very, like, thin line of, like, which route to go in their movies. I feel like the Dark Knight series was fantastic because you have a version of Batman who's not doing anything supernatural. Like, not that he can because he's human, but, like, his villains were normal dudes. Like, obviously Bane was just a roided out dude, but the Joker, the reason that was such like a interesting, deep, like, kind of story is because he was just a psychopath. He was just a normal human who kind of went crazy.
I mean, isn't there always that joke that the Batman basically needs just regular super villains because he's a regular dude?
Yeah, but that's why those always end up being the best stories. The problem when you bring the whole Justice League together is that they're all literal gods and Superman, like, literally can't be beat. So like, it's always like in this story, the reason he gets brought back for probably, was it 20 minutes? Like 20 minutes of fight time is because he can beat literally anyone. And that's just really tough to portray on screen because it's a cheat code.
I mean, even when, like, the axe came down for Cyborg and it just, like, ding, right on Superman, like, okay, just give me an explanation as to, like, what is his suit made out of? Like, is it made out of the exact same thing as his skin? Like, I'm confused.
So, but that's...
it feels... I get it though, because it's like, it's the differences between how, like, DC writes and how Marvel writes. But I like the realness of characters that Marvel has carried into the movies. And I feel like DC's trying to go the opposite route. Like, they're trying to be like, these are really cool superheroes and they are unbeatable and they're freaking awesome. And I'm like, okay, give me a reason to care. Because I don't care.
Yeah, and that's what's tough about it, is because when the Justice League unites, it's always going to be someone, you know, like a Darkseid or a Brainiac or, like, every single villain. You know what I mean? Or I can't remember, Vandal Savage, you know, those kinds of dudes. And each time, like, those are comparable guys, but you can still see Superman being able to beat them single-handedly, and that's why it's always harder for them to portray these things on screen.
Well, I mean, even like the way that Diana's supposed to be OP, Cyborg's OP, Flash can literally change time, and none of them matter compared to Superman.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you could take them all out, and
know.
if Superman is still fighting, that's fine.
Exactly.
Like, that's just like crazy. Like, you can't really do that with the Avengers. You know, like, there's no one superhero that can do everything for everyone.
Exactly. And even when you see someone like Scarlet Witch, who now are just like, oh, she can do anything, it's like, okay, but now she's
now she's having a psychological battle.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, she's battling herself.
Yeah, they do just a way better job at just balancing the characters, and like their weaknesses are clear. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like
There's
you know what's going on.
There's
with
an
them.
actual weakness.
With Superman, you know, it's like Lois Lane and Kryptonite, and you know what I mean? It's like
that's it.
That's it.
Yeah, like, and the thing is, it's like you lose Lois Lane and he's just dark.
Yeah.
Like, it's not even like a fine line. It's not like, oh, now I'm just gonna let myself be killed. It's just like, no, now I'm gonna kill everyone else.
Yeah. But I guess moving forward, while we're talking about killing Lois Lane, I want to talk about the nightmare scene that was in the epilogue.
I like that.
Because I went into this with zero expectations, because in every other version of this, we've had about like a minute long scene where they're just in the costumes, and it's almost kind of just like a callback, you know what I mean, like in the comics and stuff like that. But in this, we actually got a really long scene. We had a whole monologue with the Joker and Batman.
Very alternate reality, like giving you an idea that this is a probable alternate reality, which I think is kind of a weird thing to put in at the end of the movie. Like, are you going to continue down this route? Is this another like non-canon thing that you are going to do with your movies? Yeah. But I liked it. Like, I do like it.
Yeah, it was weird because there was a scene during the actual movie within the Snyder Cut. Bruce is telling Diana, he's like, I had a dream.
Yeah.
And he was just explaining pretty much what happened. He was like, I think we lost Lois. She's the key. Oh, this, and that. And I thought it was going to immediately transition to that nightmare scene.
Well, like, even how, like, Cyborg has a vision.
Little vision as well, yeah.
And he's like, we can't do this, like, right before the box is gonna be re-zapped to life. But they're all different. Like, they're all different. You know what I mean? Like,
slightly different.
Yeah, because I mean, in Cyborg's, obviously everyone's literally dead. He's holding Batman's head. Yeah. Well, like the nightmare scene, obviously they're still alive.
Yeah. So, but this was interesting, and I think I kind of like the placement after watching it twice, because now it's just like, this is all I'm thinking about, and I really want it to be a spinoff.
I don't know if I want it to be a spinoff. If I'm gonna be really honest, I think that it's an interesting concept.
It's really hard to do because, again, Superman does not lose.
Right. Yeah, I think it's that. Like, I don't think I like Superman as a villain.
Yeah,
because
I love Superman as a villain.
Oh, see, I mean, I like him as a villain, like, as a concept. Like, yeah, okay, cool. Dark Superman. Who wouldn't like that? He looks
terrifying.
Good. Oh.
Terrifying.
I was going the whole, like, black looks good on him route.
Well, every time his eyes lit up red, that is terrifying.
Oh, yeah. No, it's really cool. But, I mean, at the same time, like, I just don't think that I would like a movie like that because the odds are so not in your favor. Yeah. Like, I don't like unbeatable odds.
Yeah.
Like, I hate that. I hate going into a movie and being like, there's literally no way you can win. And if you do, it's because we made it that way.
Yeah.
Like, we're gonna find the loop to make it so that the Justice League wins versus Superman.
Yeah.
And I don't like that.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, they usually do a decent job at explaining it, but the reason I liked it so much is because one of my favorite comic storylines is the Injustice series, and that is in kind of a way what they base that nightmare sequence off of, because pretty much Lois Lane dies, and because of her dying, Superman kind of goes crazy, but in a sense where he's just like, I couldn't prevent her death, and I'm the strongest thing in this universe.
Yeah.
He's like, why did I let her die? How did I let her die? And decides to basically become like an overlord kind of situation. And then after Justice League splits up, you're on your side or you aren't. It's obviously Batman versus. Think of like a Justice League Civil War kind of thing.
Yeah. But in this one, it's not very much like that. It's more of like he joined Darkseid's team, and then
in the nightmare sequence. Yeah,
exactly.
Correct. So, but it was cool. It's just, it gives you kind of like a post-apocalyptic steampunk version of everyone.
Oh, I did like that.
The costumes and everything were super cool, but I couldn't get over the scene with the Joker. I just thought it really gave Jared Leto's Joker like a redemption, kind of.
I hope that they bring back Jared Leto's Joker in general.
Yeah.
Like, besides this, like, I liked it. Like, I think his had potential. It just didn't, like, get enough space.
Yeah.
I actually was seeing some theories on it, but the idea that... So, obviously, we have the scene where Joker is talking to Batman and basically being like, oh, you've lost, like, an adoptive son. We all know is going to be Robin, basically. Because the Joker kills Robin. I'm assuming they're going with that version that happened in, like, that one cartoon.
Yeah, under the Red Hood.
Exactly, yeah. So, but I was seeing a theory that was saying that the reason the Joker kills Robin is because Harley was in a fight with Robin when she was pregnant and Harley Quinn, and basically she has a miscarriage after that, and that's what like leads into Suicide Squad, where you know there's like the two little baby outfits where the Joker is like screaming around all the knives and everything, and that's kind of like where he's losing it, about to kill Robin, and that's how like everything kind of ties in that way. Yeah, right. So like the reason that Robin died. Oh, it was a TikTok. I thought I did.
Oh, no, you didn't. I'll have to check that out.
I'll try and find it again. But like, yeah, it's literally just the fact that basically Robin is killed because he went out on a mission that injured Harley Quinn while she was pregnant. She had a miscarriage of the twins. That's what leads her into the events of Suicide Squad, where she's hating the Joker more than anything. The Joker's like crazy, basically. There's that scene where he's surrounded by knives. There's the baby outfits. She has a nightmare.
I didn't notice the baby outfits.
Oh yeah, you can see it if you zoom out. It's like right in the corner.
Really?
There's two little twin babies, like a blue outfit and a pink outfit. That's actually so something that people in general theorized on when Suicide Squad came out.
Wow.
Because she has a whole daydream sequence in the end where she has a family with him and they're all normal and there's the two babies.
Really?
Yeah.
I must have missed all of this.
You didn't like Suicide Squad that much.
I didn't, but I definitely think I would have remembered
No.
this.
So we'll watch it again in a minute. But like that's her whole like thing. And then obviously when Batman's saying that she was dying in his arms and she said to kill the Joker, and the Joker had already killed Robin at that point. But like
just a little like loop.
It's like huge. Like it's a loop.
Yeah.
Obviously not confirmed, but like it's just an interesting theory because it definitely works. And that's why I was saying it seems like it would tie right into Suicide Squad.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah.
Under the Red Hood is a cartoon, and pretty much, like she said, like it's a version of Robin where he gets killed by the Joker, like brutally beaten with a wrench or something like that.
Yeah, like a tire iron or something like that.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Like...
And he left in a building, and it blows up as soon as Batman gets there. And so he dies, he gets resurrected in the Lazarus Pit, comes back as like an anti-hero kind of situation.
And he turns into Red Hood.
Yeah, it's on HBO Max. I really recommend watching it. It's probably one of my favorites. But we were assuming that's the version of Robin they were going with, because in Batman vs Superman, you see Robin's outfit, and it's got the yellow writing all over it. I think it said something like you can't save him or can't save everyone or something like that.
Right.
And so Robin doesn't usually die, and that is the one situation where he does.
That's the one Robin that has like officially died.
So, and honestly, if they made that into a live action movie, I keep saying that's like one thing that'll bring everybody back in, because we get to see that violent side of the Joker killing a character we care about, and then we get to see like the Bruce Wayne tiptoeing like, do I kill this man or not? You know what I mean?
You see him like tiptoe the very dark version of the Batman that he can be.
And if they bring back the Red Hood, again, he's an anti-hero, so he's pretty much saying like, why can't we just kill these villains? You know what I mean? He's like, these guys are robbing a bank. Let's just kill them. Yeah.
I really like that.
No, he's awesome. I think he would do great on screen. So,
yeah, and plus like it introduces like the Lazarus Pit, and also like goes into like obviously just more of Batman's backstory, because we have it from The Dark Knight, but we don't have it for this, you know?
Yeah. That's what sucks. I'm always biased, but it just feels like a lot of the Batman villains and stories are always just so much... like they're like more well done than all the other characters.
It's very, like I said, it's because it's very like psychological based. Exactly. Because like obviously Gotham City is like a destroyed city. Like they have rampant crime, and they're going into why that is. Like, why is it that everyone's like killing everyone? It's because they're poor, they need to eat, they don't have any like rules and regulations. Like you have a very dark setting where someone's trying to do good. And like it's just always going to be a very interesting story, which is why like Batman's such a good character, like well-rounded, while like everyone else, they're good for the sake of being good. They're not good because they're in a community where everything's bad.
Yeah, exactly. And honestly, the Batfleck, Ben Affleck as Batman, he's growing on me. I thought he was solid. Batfleck, yeah, that's his name.
That's funny. I don't mind him. He's definitely like the dad of the Justice League.
Well, that was an interesting thing they did too, because the Batman they decided to go off of is based off the Batman Returns, and this is Bruce Wayne when he's in like his 40s or 50s. That's why it's like the fatter Batman logo.
I really hate that Batman logo. Like of all the things, fat one. Yeah, it's so dumb.
Fat man.
I mean, I just don't like that it's like a rectangle, like with like thick tips. No, it's a rectangle. Like we all know bats don't look like that. Every single one of us knows what a bat looks like, and it's not like that.
But that's why in this version of Justice League, like everything you see Batman do, it's like very slow, and obviously he's human, but a lot of his fighting style, you can tell like this man's
he's
kind of
slowing down.
he's struggling to get around. So I thought it was an interesting decision to use that one. Again, we'll see if the Robert Pattinson version is canon or not. I don't think it is.
I'm
but
excited though about the Robert Pattinson one.
Yeah.
I know that you weren't originally, but like I'm excited to see.
I'm not excited for the sake of this potentially not being canon, because then if this turns out great, it doesn't matter because it's not connected to anything. I
just feel like that's something DC really needs to get a handle on. Like, just make things canon. Just go into something planning for it to be officially part of your story, else why are you doing it?
I think before going into Justice League, one of the things that bothered me the most is that the Green Arrow TV show and Flash, even though they went on too long and I didn't like the last couple seasons, the movies should have been based around those characters. Not even because they were amazing, but because they were established and had a story.
They actually were pretty good. Like, the Flash had such a good fan base. And, like, even Green Arrow, the first 2 seasons, I think,
we enjoyed it. It was really good.
Really strong.
Yeah. But all they had to do is have those guys as TV shows. And it's cool because those are more of the outsider characters. It's not Batman. It's not Superman. If you develop those guys and then transition into bringing them into the Justice League, it's like, oh, now we care about the side characters. Of course we care about Batman and Superman. It brings personality
in. Yeah. Like, so, we need personality, DC. Like, we need a personality. We can't just have, like, a super badass.
Yeah. Moving forward, I am excited / nervous about the new Flash movie. Because there have been talks that it's going to be something like a Flashpoint Paradox, which again is an amazing animated movie.
It felt like it was leading into that with the Snyder cut.
Yeah.
You know, like the way that he was even like viewing like, oh my God, I can go back in time. I don't even want to talk about how ugly his slow motion moments were. Like, I'm not even saying
see how
like
you run?
No, I'm not even no one runs like that. If you're gonna tell me he really runs by like doing some modern dancing, okay, that's fine. He can run like that.
I like the karate arms.
Yeah, I don't mind karate arms, but he was like, flow. He's like, go with the flow of the universe. And I'm like, okay, Flash.
Yeah, but
I mean, go off, I guess.
Yeah, but what's interesting, so again, the Flashpoint Paradox is an amazing animated movie. I definitely recommend watching it. But it's one of these things you do kind of like once everything else is established, because what it entails is
it's basically like the whole Scarlet Witch changing everyone's
kind
lives.
of, yeah. So pretty much Flash goes back in time to change one thing, and this changes the entire current reality.
You know, like butterfly effect.
But yeah, it screws everything up. Like literally screws everything up. And then he has to fix it again.
But then when he goes back to fix it, it like it's a whole like convoluted thing because there's multiple flashes.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like if you don't know it, it's not going to be easy to explain it to you here.
Go watch it, though.
If you have really HBO good. Max, there's a whole DC section. Yeah. And the cartoons are actually pretty damn good.
That's the thing. It's funny because a lot of times when we see these movies and I'm very critical about them, I'm critical because the cartoons were spot on perfect to the point where I'm just like, literally ask them for their script, hire a couple actors, and just redo it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That was what pissed me off about the Suicide Squad movie. I guess it's a little bit
like the Suicide Squad.
It's more entertaining as I watch it now, just if I try to avoid the fact it's like a superhero movie.
I never saw the Suicide Squad cartoons before this.
But if you watch the Assault on Arkham Batman movie, again on HBO Max, you're just like, why didn't they just do this? Because it included the Joker for more than 9 minutes. Like, he's supposed to be the main villain.
So in the
they
Suicide
cut all
Squad,
of his roles.
Yeah, he had actually multiple lines. Like Jared Leto's version of the Joker actually had so much screen time, and they cut it all for this movie. Yeah. And I never understood that because, like, yeah, Suicide Squad was good, but like
Enchantress shouldn't have been the main villain.
I mean, I don't even care about that.
Yeah.
I just mean, like, in general, I don't understand why you would have included bits and pieces of the Joker if you weren't going to include all of it, because he wasn't good as bits and pieces. That's the thing. Like, it wasn't like, oh, okay, I get it now. Like, yeah, it was stupid.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, we can go on for hours, but I do want to end on a good note. I enjoyed this. I really thought it was better. I had fun watching it. I do think it gave some type of redemption to the original Justice League. Yeah. It's not perfect, but I think moving forward, they really should build off the Snyder Cut just because it makes sense. That's really all it is. It literally makes sense as a base to move forward with. Mm-hmm. And I hope they do. If not, we're probably going to be having the same conversation about how much they messed it up when the next one comes out.
Well, I mean, even just the way that, like, the original version ended, where Steppenwolf is being zapped up, he doesn't officially die. Like, you have that open ending of being like, is he going to come back with Darkseid? Like, that's dumb. While this one, it's showing Darkseid being like, okay, we need to take a minute.
Exactly.
And now we can actually develop all the characters. Like, we can have the separate movies for each of the separate characters and then come back in another Justice League movie. They shouldn't always just be together.
Yeah, exactly. So I really hope they decide to make this canon. I don't know if they will because it's DC. But
obviously they need to make a little bit better decisions. I mean, obviously we've never produced a movie or anything crazy like that, but at the end of the day, I'm not saying we're having bad ideas. But
yeah, that was the Snyder Cut. We enjoyed it. Go watch it if you have time. Spend your whole Saturday.
Or you can do it like me and you can watch it in parts.
Yeah, it is separated into six parts, and then an epilogue. So you can split it up that way. It's not episode form. It is all the way through, so you'll have to pause and then start again.
Yeah, it's basically more of like a PowerPoint, like part 5, and then you go straight into it. It's not like you're gonna actually have to press into it.
Yeah, but it was good. And
yeah, I mean, honestly, my complaints, like I said, are very much like just rooted in how it was like written and the CGI. But like overall, I will say that I appreciate the fact that they did more story, like in Snyder Cut's version, because I know that part of that problem was that Snyder didn't want to cut anything, and they were like, "You have to cut this," and he was like, "No."
Yeah.
And I think that there was definitely stuff that he could have cut. Like he could have been a little bit more lenient, and they should have been way more lenient.
It was just overall malpractice by everyone.
It just was.
A funny thing that I found out today, I saw a stat on, I think it was comicbook.com. I think it was 10% of this movie was in slow motion, which is absolutely ridiculous. Like, again, we're complaining about the CGI. If you watch it, it's because the slow motion scenes are way too long. They're out of place and it's just overdone. I think 10% of the movie was in slow motion.
The only slow motion scene that I appreciated, I mean, obviously some of the Flash's scenes do have to be in slow motion, but I felt like it was very cheesy the way that he's narrating most of the time in them.
Yeah.
But the only one that I actually liked is one at the very end, right before their big battle with Steppenwolf, where like Batman's car is like flipping and like the Justice League is popping up over it. And like it slows for a split second, not even that long, and then it goes right back up into like normal speed. And I'm like, yeah, that was a good amount of slow motion.
Exactly.
We got to see them all together, but you didn't just extend it an extra bit amount of time so I can watch a bullet fall to the ground.
Yeah, slow motion's been much, but yeah.
Slow motion was a bit much. It was a bit much, mate.
It is what it is. But yeah, that's pretty much all I got.
I want to find that TikTok.
Okay. No, you're not watching other TikToks. And yeah, and then next, again, we are going to be talking about Falcon and the Winter Soldier at some point. We'll probably do it in either, obviously we saw episode 1, but maybe either like a 2 episodes, 3 episodes, something. We'll split it up, but we are going to be doing it.
Every 2 sounds like a good plan.
2? Okay. Yeah, so that'll probably be the next video, is going to be reviewing episode 1 and 2.
So look forward to it. I don't know where that accent came from.
Look forward to with a British accent.
With a bad British accent. It was one I saw today. Are you sure I didn't show it to you?
Look, should we just end this and watch it later?
So in that note, please stand by.
Oh yeah, we're standing by.
I am standing by. Please stand by.
Yeah, please stand by.